Hi, Prama here again, and welcome to another episode of Your Business Brilliance. And I'm really excited to bring Regan Hillyer to you today. Hi, Regan. Thanks for being with us.
Hey, how are you?
Great. And let me just tell you, look, her whole bio is right there on the page. But let me just tell you a little bit about Regan. First of all, we were just talking, and she's in Bali. And how cool is that? She's got a business that allows her to be wherever she wants in the world. So we're getting to talk to her from Bali right now. And Regan's she's founded businesses. She has been successful on different levels in different businesses, which she'll talk to you about. And currently, she's really helping people with business mentoring, mindset. I want to say, like, what I really love about her is how to manage yourself, this vehicle of you and your mind and your own brilliance, so that you can actually create that business, have that success, and make that difference you're going to make. So, Regan, thanks for being with us. And
Thank
I'd
you.
love to just jump in and have you just tell a little bit about your story on how you even got to expressing your brilliance as a business mentor, mindset coach as you are now. Like, how did you actually get here?
Yeah, that's a really awesome question. And I was very much someone who just followed the system. I grew up, went to school, worked really hard, went to university. I have a degree in architecture, but I knew deep down the whole time that there was more, right? And I remember sitting in university just going, this is not for me, right? Even though I was good at it and everyone was going, oh my gosh, you're gonna be such an amazing architect. I just knew, like, deep down in my core, that there was more. So that's what spurred me into a whole lot of personal development, firstly, and actually, I guess, soul searching, right? And going, who am I, and why am I here, and what's the point of this thing called life? And surely it's not just to work all these years and then retire. Like, it just doesn't seem right, right? And so I really, I guess, challenged the system for many years and had a lot of breakthroughs through, doing a lot of strategy stuff, but also working on my own mindset. And, that's when I started actually creating businesses, working out, how do I create cash flow outside of the regular system. And, I did a lot of different things. Like, I actually, in New Zealand, I started a rehab, and, I've gone through multiple different industries. But now, if we're to look at the brilliant side of things, and if we're to take the coaching and mentoring into consideration, it was really a transition where a few years ago, I was running a speaking, coaching, and mentoring company. And I was running that, with a friend and behind a brand, effectively. And it really hit me one day that all of our clients and everyone coming through, they weren't actually buying the brand. They weren't actually buying the product or the service. It was none of that. They were buying me, right? And I really had this moment where I went, wow, the people are actually here because of me, kind of thing. That's who they're here to see. And so it was a tiny little flick. It was a little click, but that made me go, why? And that really made me dig into, well, why? Like, what do I bring to the table? What are people drawn to? What is that unique brilliance that I'm actually probably at that point in time completely unaware of? And then how do I tap into that further? And ultimately, how do I live my life as an extension of that, and then actually get to a point of monetizing that, right? So that's what flipped me through into coaching at a deeper level, but also establishing my personal brand and really creating this scenario where I am ultimately literally just monetizing my life, and my brand and my business and my coaching is simply a pure, authentic extension of me.
I love that. I love that. So let's rewind just a little bit, and so totally resonant with everything you just said. Um, so, because you kind of broke that out, I think, into maybe four steps, and I'd love for us to actually walk through them.
Right.
So one was that, like, you realized that they were coming for you, that it was you, and you took the deeper dive into, like, why, and to figure that out. So can we call that step one? Will you help me work through this? And then,
Yes.
do you remember the next thing you said? So that was the first part. Is like figuring, like, why they're even coming, which is the first part of discovering yourself and your brand. Would you say that's true?
Right. Yeah, absolutely. And then it was kind of this moment where I actually realized that I'd been unaware of it before, if that makes sense. So it's almost,
Yeah.
self-realization that there is actually greatness within me, and there is something unique, and there is something special. And we can talk about this later, I'm sure, but so many people just walk around not acknowledging that, right?
Right. 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 Like
Yeah.
wondering, like, what thing. Like everybody has a thing, you know.
Right. Totally. Totally.
So that being that first step of like, okay, like, what is it that I do really well? What is it that lights me up? When you were digging into that, why, people were even coming to you, what other kinds of questions might have you've been asking yourself to kind of really hone down to what it really was, like what the brilliance you had really was?
Look, I think at that moment in time, there was really, two things going on. And I feel like it was a little bit of an internal conflict, if I'm going to be completely honest. And I feel like a lot of other people
Yeah.
may sit in this space because part of me was going, okay, I've kind of recognized that people are here because of me. So I'm curious about that. And how do I tap further into that? And what does that look like? And why? And there's that exploration and that side of things. But then there's the other side of things, which is totally self doubt, right? Which was totally fear, which was totally, well, why are they here for me? And who am I to say I have a message? And what if it's not good enough, or what if it's not powerful enough? And so it really was. I remember it. I remember there was this kind of internal tug, and I literally just had to draw a line in the sand and go, do you know what? I am going to make a decision to actually back myself 100%, and I'm going to make a decision to go 100% in. And it wasn't until that moment in time that everything actually started shifting, because before that I wasn't 100% in, right? So to answer your question, yeah, I was asking myself things like, what is my true message that I'm born to share with the world? If I could literally, I always ask myself this, and I ask my clients this now, if I could have a megaphone or a speakerphone and I could say, one or two lines to everyone in the world and all the right people were going to hear it, what would I say to them, right? If I had that one opportunity, which really, pulls you deep into this space of going, wow, there's something there at my core, and there's something brilliantly unique and different that actually separates me from any type of different person. Just like anyone listening, there's no other version of you walking around right now. Like, you are beautiful, you are unique, but it is up to you to actually go within and tap into that.
I couldn't agree more. And Michael, there's so much out there in strategy and marketing, and some of it's really, really useful. But
Mm-hmm.
I see that tends to pull some people off of what their message is, or doesn't allow them to go deep enough. And I'm super passionate about everyone getting to their authentic message as well.
Right.
So it's really great to have this conversation with you. And one of the things that I believe that it doesn't even matter exactly how your message is worded, and you can always upgrade that. But if you're 100% authentically invested into those words that express it, that you're shooting through that megaphone like you talked about,
Right.
that is what matters. You could be saying green lizards on a fence is your message,
Right.
and if you were like 100% convicted and your heart was in it, it would get across to the right people. And I know I'm
Right.
really being absurd, but I just want people to get this point.
Right, it's super important. And here's the thing, people often go, oh, like, I think I know my message, but I don't think it's powerful enough, or I don't think it's glamorous enough, or the words aren't big enough. Like, I had that last week. I'm like, what do you mean your words aren't big enough? What are you talking about, right? But people come up with all these filters, which are really just acting as a pin, basically, which pin them to where they are in their comfort zones, so they cannot grow. I say to people, your message might be as simple as, you can be an amazing mom. Like, that could be literally the core of who you are, and that is the extension of you that you want to share with your world. And your message can also change and shift and grow and evolve. It's not like you decide it once and then that's it forever, right? We're humans, we change. Like, flow with it, just flow, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So yeah, people put all this like crazy like stress around it, to be honest, when really they just need to just be calm and go within and actually listen and ask themselves the right questions, and then trust. Like, that is the biggest thing. And look, the world is not going to immediately go, we love your message from the first day. Like, you have to show up, you have to breathe life into it, you have to give it space, you have to really push it, right? And until you do that, often there will be no external kind of validation around it. So until that happens, you just have to back yourself.
I love this, what you're saying about backing yourself. I'm going to say one thing about sound, just so you know, that I'm in Seattle, Washington, in the United States, and Regan is in Bali, and there's a little bit of a lag on sound. Hang in with it, because we're so grateful we can even do this over the internet. Okay, no worries about it. Okay, you can hear, just so you know, it's not your computer, it's just the way it is, and we're fine and we're grateful. But about that branding piece, it's so true that, like, what you're saying about back yourself 100%. I Years ago, let's see, back in 2011, my name was my business name, and I really just prayed and sat in meditation and opened up and asked for guidance, like, what should I really call my business? And after just a short time, maybe 3 or 4 weeks, literally I was downloaded with the name of my business, which is
Right.
Solution, spelled Soul. So it was given, and then I went right to the computer. And I was like, "Oh wow, is that available?" So I did that, and but I didn't have it spelled Soul in my. I didn't think of it like that. And a lot of I help people with their soul blueprints and stuff. I didn't even think of that, but I spelled it wrong. I spelled it Soul instead of SOL,
Hmm.
and it came up available. So I'm like, "Okay, great."
Right.
So I got it, and then I realized what I didn't do it. It just happened, and I was like, "Okay, this is even more fun." And then I was trying to decide, how do I explain what that is? I took me out of the equation kind of, and I got sidetracked.
Right.
And after 2 months, I, I, I kind of just, it's always been the name of my business, but it wasn't the lead name. I went back to my name. And then it was so interesting because a few months ago, I went and talked to a branding specialist.
Hmm.
And he looked at me and he said, and I said, well, I think I need a new name for my business. And he knew me by my name, but I said, well, this is the name I really run under legally. And he's like, get out of here, Grandma. I couldn't give you a better name. It was already given to you. You just didn't have the balls or the ovaries to rock it.
Right.
That's what he told me. And
Right.
I really share that with everyone just because it's exactly what she was talking about. So I was like, I took it back on, and right now my website's being redone, and it hasn't. I really get that's what it was. Like, I
Hmm.
didn't need something new. I was already given it. But
Right.
so let's talk about backing yourself 100%, because I
Hmm.
love the way you say that, and that's at that point around that I wasn't doing that, and I am now, and it feels really good. So how do you help somebody back themselves 100%?
Right, absolutely. Well, firstly, they need to realize that they need to do that. Firstly, because so many people they just don't get that, right? And I love what you said as well. How you said, "Look, I couldn't have given you a better name," because that is so much of backing yourself. It's actually trusting, right? It's trusting that whatever is handed to you in an intuitive way, that's it. Like, that's right. And it doesn't have to be like bigger or grander or bolder or whatever. Like, as long as it feels good to you and it is literally, given to you through intuition, not through logic, right? Let's be clear on this. Not through like, what should I be doing, or what's the right thing to do, or what do people expect of me? No, what do I want to do, right? Who am I? What do I want to share? Like, what is this about? So, as long as it's come from within, that's the biggest thing. So, it's making that decision to go all in with it. It's making that decision to actually trust. And then it's simply actually just taking the action every day, right? And I know that's easily said. I know everyone puts it out there and they're like, take the daily action. But what I mean by this is, like, I'm talking about aligned action. Okay. So if you have some sort of outcome, let's say your outcome may be just to share your message to the world, in a huge way, and impact a lot of people through that. What are you doing daily to act from that space as if that is already done in the future as an outcome? What are you doing daily, and what aligned action are you taking? Not action just for the sake of taking action to keep busy, but I'm talking about aligned action in order to actually accelerate and get your message out there.
Okay, so you're talking completely my language, and as far as from the inside out, using your intuition first, and let's demystify that. We're not talking about, you don't have to light 100 candles. You can light one if you want to. It's being willing to actually take a moment to pull yourself in from everything else that pulls you out of yourself, and for you to listen. For you, maybe you're not auditory, maybe it's for you to, you're more visual. I have
Mm.
one of my dear friends and clients, Margaret. She's like, she immediately gets a symbol, and then we've learned how to interpret that for her. You all have your own inner language, and you need
Right.
to know what that is. But the point I want to get get to is the aligned part. So you and I are going to throw that word around, and I want to make sure everybody knows what we're actually talking about, because I believe 100%, and I stand for this big with people, is alignment first, action second.
Right.
So,
I love you.
I love you too. That is what it is. Alignment first, action second.
Right.
But you might as well go take a nap. I mean, really, if you're going to take a bunch of action, um, from an unaligned place, you're going to get a response back from the world, the universe, from people that's not aligned with you either.
Right.
So let's talk about, share with them how to actually take aligned action.
Mm-hmm. Okay, well, before we jump into that, I think it's important to realize what alignment actually is. And the way to actually do that often is by realizing when you're not in alignment, because there's so many people walking around not in alignment. It's kind of an easy thing to recognize. So for me, and you're right, it is a word that's like thrown around a lot these days, and it can feel like a really kind of like, that's a big word, I don't know what that means. But, for me, it's like, okay, if what is on the inside isn't lining up and isn't adding up to what is currently showing up on the outside, then you're out of alignment. Like, it feels funny. Like, if you're literally creating into a space in your external life, but your heart and your inner core is telling you, I don't want to do it, or it's not right, you're out of alignment. So you need to ask yourself, well, what do I want to do? And you need to go back to everything we've talked about already and listen to that stuff, right? Then you need to act from that space. So in order to get into alignment, what I do personally is I always look at the big picture. So I look at the big outcome and I go, okay, cool. What's the big picture? Why am I doing this? Where am I headed? Because if you don't know where you're going, it's like hitting a golf ball into the air and being like, get in the hole. Like, it's just not going to happen, right? So you need to know where you're going, right? So you lock in.
Line that baby up.
Right, go. So you've got to, get into that big picture reality and go, okay, what does that look like in my life? In crystal clarity, in total detail. So I don't care if you're just focusing on money, cool, but you need to focus on what does that amount of money look like through every area. Like, how does that also affect your health, your relationships, like everything? Because, by the way, if you're not clear on that, you're consciously creating it, and if you're not clear, then you might be the person that gets the goal but gets out of balance, right? So it's locking in that big outcome, and then it's choosing to become that person first, okay? Because here's the thing, if your identity isn't in alignment with the big goal, then you're either not going to get there, or even worse, you're going to get to the goal and you're going to bounce back, because internally your identity doesn't actually believe that that's what they've created, okay? So you need to ask yourself, well, okay, in order to live into this space, in order to live into this big picture reality, who do I need to become in order to do this, right? And I don't just mean like what do you wear, like I mean who are you at your core, right? What do you think about? What do you believe? What are you driven by? What are you focusing on? Who do you talk to? Who are you surrounded by? What action do you take? Like, who do you need to become first? People are like, oh, like once I receive the goal, then I'll be that person. Once I make $1 million, then I'll be a millionaire. No. Okay, you need to become the millionaire first, and then the money will show up, okay? And it's the same with everything. It's like, oh, like once I get fit and healthy, then I'll feel good. No, feel good first, and then you'll get the body, right? It's like everyone's got it backwards. So once you've done the identity work and you're actually becoming, or you've chosen to become that person, you simply need to act from that space daily. And here's the difference between just taking random action and taking aligned action, is that you go, okay, cool, well, if I knew that outcome was done, if I knew that it was like locked in the future, it's 100% happened, it's sorted, it's created, what would I be doing now to act from that space to move me further to that moment in time? And that's all it is. And this is, guys, this is how I run my business. This is how I run my life. I simply do the mindset work around locking in the big picture stuff. I choose to become that person first. And then thirdly, I say, okay, well, now that that's done, what would I be doing right now today in order to move me in that direction? So this is why, I see so many people in their business and they're working so hard all these hours, but it's not aligned action. It's not actually aligning them with who they need to be and where they're going. So they're just busy being busy and they're not actually moving forward, right? And just by simply asking yourself, well, what do I need to do in order to accelerate me now in alignment with that result? Go do that. Whatever that download is, you know what you need to do. All this stuff is actually not hard. It's not difficult. Chances are you already know what you need to do. It's just not in alignment with what you're doing.
Right, and not having it, it's not, here's what I think, another part of what you're really saying is it's not complicated. But it's not easy if you're not aligned. And if it's not, and that doesn't mean like you're not going to work hard. Like, I don't know, I've been wildly productive this week, but I've been like, it's just ease and flow because it's like, bring it on. What's the next thing? Because I'm lined up, and
Right.
that's exactly how I created this week for me. And I work really well in chunks of time, for clients, chunks of time for projects,
Yeah.
chunks of time for this. Um, but if it's hard, and I don't mean like, sometimes I work hard, but I love it. And my passion and feel aligned, it's pulling me forward. But if it's hard, like we were talking about, that's one of the keys that you're not aligned. And that's the point I want to make, because you need to know viscerally, what does it feel like when you're not aligned? And then the other part of what you said is, you already know, and this is like one of my big stands in the world, is like, all the answers are already here.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe you need someone help someone to access that answer. But once you have it, and then life becomes so much easier if you start to just do that.
Right.
And what's hard is when you're not doing that.
Right. I totally agree.
Let's talk to them about closing that gap between what you know that you need to do, and of course, maybe you need to clear some beliefs or whatever you need to do. But I want to hear from you, like, how do you help your clients actually close that gap when they know, but they're not actually doing it?
Right, totally. So here's the thing, it really comes down to your mindset, and it comes down to how you're wired within. Because, even if you're like, okay, here's the aligned action, and you go and take it, but if your mindset isn't in alignment, your psychology is over 80% of your results, right? So, you might move forward slowly, but ultimately you're not going to shift really, really, really fast. So, I truly believe that our external reality is created from within, right? Like, everything that has shown up in your life right now, you've manifested, you've created, good, bad, ugly, like, it's all there, right? So,
yeah, I agree.
Right. Yep. So it's interesting to think, okay, if there's something that I'm looking to manifest, or there's something that I'm looking to have show up in my life, but it's not there yet, then that simply means that it hasn't been created internally. But if you're someone who's doing the internal work, and you're like, but I'm writing it out daily, I'm focusing on it, I'm meditating on it, I'm doing everything you tell me to do, then there must be some sort of block or limitation that's inhibiting it actually showing up, right? Because, I truly have a belief that time is not real, time is warped, and we're in control of this, and whatever you desire, it can literally happen overnight, right? Someone might say, oh, but I can't make $1 million overnight. Yeah, you can. There's actually people that have. Oh, but I couldn't increase my following to 100,000 people overnight. Yeah, you can, right? It's actually possible. The reason you can't do whatever you're looking to do with rapid speed is simply that there's blocks and limitations in there. So that's what I help people do a lot, is dig into that stuff and go, okay, cool, like, why are you holding yourself back? What is it? Like, is it fear? Is it self-doubt? Is it an identity thing? Like, what is going on internally that's basically pinning you to where you are, which isn't allowing this goal, if you like, or this, other external reality to actually show up? And what's interesting is that once you clear the blocks, everything starts to shift, and all of a sudden things show up, and literally, stuff just shifts around you, and so many of my clients are literally like, oh my god, you would not believe what happened, like this happened, this happened, this happened. I'm like, well, you've called that in, right? And I really congratulate them and going, well, this is not like a fluke, this is not like, oh, that was lucky, like, this is not like some random series of events. You were consciously creating this. So even if it's showing up and it seems random, or it seems like, where did that come from, you have actually created that, you have called that in to some level in your life. So congratulations, right? So more of that, more of that, more of that.
And one thing you can look at too in your lives is, where are you where are you creating really well? Like, what's going really well? Because there's always places we just do it naturally, and we have less of what Regan's talking about right now, less of the sticky stuff, less of the gunk for whatever reason, less of those beliefs, less of the identity attachments for whatever reason. So it's also good to notice, oh, where am I doing this really well? And then why does this show up in business? I believe, and I want to hear from you, I believe this is because this is a major spiritual journey, being an entrepreneur. You're going to come up against yourself at every level, because it's all, you have to take it off and get vulnerable. It's like what you're talking about, you back yourself 100%. Well, then you have to believe in yourself 100%.
Right.
That is a lot. That
Yep.
is a lot to add. I mean, you have to really be, as my dad would say, squeaky clean with yourself. You have to
Right.
really, you know. Um, so, as far as this amazing journey as being an entrepreneur, what I'd love to ask you next is, so where do you take it from there? Are you working with your clients with specific strategies in order to move the brand of them forward out in the world? So how are you working with that?
Yeah, and look, obviously there is some strategy that comes into it, but what's really interesting, which I find fascinating, to be honest, because I never used to coach this way. I used to be like, here's the strategy, and like, here's the 10 things you need to go do, and go do that, and blah blah blah. And
Exactly what I'm
oh,
asking
you
you.
feel scared? Okay, we'll do some mindset work. Like, it was backwards to what I do now. So what's interesting now is that, yeah, of course there's strategy, and that, I mean, I could teach anyone to make money online. It's not hard. Like, I could really do that. But what's funny is I don't work with just anyone. I only work with people that have a powerful message that want to monetize that, right? So the strategy always comes internally. And I really push my clients to actually create their own strategy in a way, right? So for example, let's say someone wants to run a marathon and that's the goal, and they're like, I know we're talking about business, but that just came to me. So let's
That's
say,
fine.
right,
Yeah.
so let's say they're like, the goal is I want to run a marathon, and I'm like, cool, and I'm like, you can do it, and they're like, yeah, and I'm like, okay, like, they're like, I'm a bit unsure though, and I'm like, okay, cool, so what's holding you back around that? And they're like, I just don't know how to train for it, like, I'm not sure physically on the strategy of how to do that. Now, I'm not a marathon runner, right? So I'm not going to be like, oh, well, you just go do this, because I don't know, right? So as a coach, as someone guiding that person, I would lead them to create their own strategy or own self-discovery around that strategy. So I would be going, okay, cool, well, if you need to find out how to train for the marathon, what do you think you need to do? How would you go and find that out? And they might be like, oh, well, I need to find someone that knows that. Great. How are you going to do that? And they would say, oh, maybe I would post on my Facebook if anyone's run a marathon, or I would Google this site. Great. And then before they know it, I'm like, okay, that's your action. Go do that. And they go and find it, and then they have the strategy, right? So it's not always about you being an expert and knowing every single answer as a coach. It's really not. Like, unless you are like certified in a field, like if you're a nutritionist, then you go tell them what to eat. Like, you go for it. But if you're not, don't do that. And I see so many coaches going, oh, I'm a guru at this and an expert at that. And it's like, yeah, okay, you might have some knowledge around that, but chances are maybe you're not, right? So why not instead take the path of leading them through their own self-discovery by figuring out what is blocking them and what do they need, and then asking the right questions to actually have them self-realize the how or the strategy, or self-realize exactly what they need to go and do in order to fill that gap. So that's what I do.
Yeah, and in my own way, that's what I do too. I'm an intuitive too, and I look at people's Vedic astrology charts along with that. But I always get them first, and then I'll strategize with you. Once it comes through you, we can collaborate on it. But if it doesn't come through you, then again, it feels like you're reaching outside for something. And what I've seen is you can only make that your own for so long, unless sometimes something comes down the pipe that is so like, oh, that's the thing that that's meeting this place inside. That does happen. But if the bottom line is, like, if you can, I learned this early in life, just the way my life played out. I had to back myself 100%. Actually, I don't use that term, but it's a great term for it.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but I had to learn to trust myself, because there wasn't always adults around to do that, and I
Right.
did my own very early. And um, but you become self-reliant, and not on the little self of you, but really on the big self, the
Right.
divine self. And that will never, that'll absolutely never fail you. Would you be telling us? Would you be willing to tell us, what are you most excited about in your business right now?
For me, oh my gosh, I'm excited about so many things. Like, so excited about life right now. But if I was to pick one thing, the biggest thing for me right now is impact. I'm just really excited and so grateful for the people that I'm impacting. But I know at my core where it's headed. I know where it's going. I have no doubt about it. I can see it so clearly, to the place that it's literally, like we were talking about, it's done. Like now it's just time and space just catching up. So I'm just really excited just to play at that level. It's really, really exciting.
Awesome, awesome. So, um, two more things. One is, can I go back there? Okay, so I'm just listening in. Yeah. So you had said that you really love working with people who, um, have a power, really want to bring their powerful message to the world. So, what is? I want to I'm just curious. What is it you look for in someone that lets, or what is it you see or feel in someone that lets you know, okay, yes, this is someone that I need to be on their team for, because they do have what it is that I know I'm here to serve.
Hmm.
How do you?
Yeah, that's a really great question, and it's a tricky one, but it's simple at the same time. Because it's tricky for me because part of what I do so well is I see greatness in everyone. Like I don't. I mean,
Yeah.
I walk down the street and I'm like, greatness in you, greatness in you, greatness in you. Like it's crazy. Like to the point where I'll see someone doing something and I'll catch a glimpse of them being unhappy, and I'm like, why are you doing that? You should do something else. Like immediately, like I just get this download, right? So that's a blessing and it's a curse, right? Because initially in business, I just wanted to help everybody, and I was like, you can all do it. But the reality is, they can't all do it because they have to want to do it first inside. And if it's coming from me going, you should do it, you should do it, you should do it, ultimately they're not going to get there. It needs to come from within their core. So that's what I look for. I look for not only their greatness, because I believe everyone has it on a certain level, but I look for them actually being able to recognize their greatness. Now, I don't mean in a way where people come to me and they're like, here's my message, here's what I want to do, I've already built a business. It's not necessarily that, although sometimes it is. Sometimes it's literally someone being like, Regan, I just know, right? I just know there's something within me. And I don't know what it is, and I don't know what it looks like, and I don't know how to do it, but there's something. Can you help me? Right? And that is what I look for. Like those are the conversations that I have with people that they know they're powerful, and they know that they're destined for more, and they know that they're here to play a big game, but they've recognized that. Now they might not have clarity around it, they might not understand it, they might be even freaked out by it, and that's okay, but they know. So that's what I look for. I look for that knowing, where in the past I looked for the greatness, and it was just a bit of a mess, to be honest, because not everyone had actually come to that point of wanting to utilize their greatness, and they need to be there themselves first.
Thank you, thank you. Well said. And along that line, actually, to come full circle here, so we're meant to help who we're meant to help, and so as far as niching down, I think that was a brilliant answer. Actually, I would have asked you, how do you niche down? That's the intuitive way to do it. As far as your message goes and who you, okay, let me just back up. Sorry, I'm not talking in sentences. Downloads happen. Let me just put those on pause.
Cool.
We can be, the more specific we are, the more aligned we are. We can be more like a laser beam. In order to manifest anything, you have to have enough focus. You have to have, like the big picture you're talking about, you have to, be that one. And if you are more like a floodlight, you're not as visible if you're trying to help everybody, or your message is watered down because you aren't really standing in what you believe in, then people can't feel you or can't find you in this whole sea of all this static. So I just want to speak to the people who are, I want to say, afraid to sort of get more specific or take more of a stand for who they're really here to help, which we could also translate into niching down. So what would you suggest to people who are like, oh no, but I can help them too, and I can help them too, but their business isn't, they aren't making the impact that they really want to make?
Right, right, and this is an awesome question, and I love that you've asked this because I see, like you said, so many people kind of miss the mark with this a little bit. So I think it's twofold, and I think there's two different kind of mindsets or intuitions or even strategies, if you want to call it that. But all my strategy is actually mindset, haha. So, all right. So if we look at this, I truly believe when it comes to a message that you don't need to put a box around it, that it can just be, that it can literally just be I am my message, and it can be broad and it can be big. Like one of my core messages is letting people know that they can have it all, and they can have it all right now on their terms. Now, that is like high in the sky broad. That is not niche down. That is not specific at all. That is literally that, and that's what I believe. I believe you can have it all through every area of your life, and one area doesn't have to compensate. Like you can have it all at once, right? But here's what's interesting is that where you need to be specific, you need to actually go, okay, well, who specifically do I want to work with? Right? That is the question to get specific about. Because if you're all like broad with your message, and then if you're broad with who you want to help, then nothing is going to be intentional. So I encourage people to go big with their message and not to put a box around that, but then to be very specific on who they're working with. Okay. Now, if we look at the people that go, okay, I need to be really specific about my message, and they start boxing that in, then all of a sudden, if they're going, okay, I help fitness professionals have it all, for example, I help people in fitness have it all. If that's what I decided my message, if that's the box I decided I wanted to put it in, all of a sudden, like 6 months later, if I want to do something around like passion, purpose, and alignment, but I've been like my message is fitness, then people are going to be like, but that's not who you are. Like that doesn't align with your message. So you actually limit yourself. So what I encourage people to do is go big and broad and like massive vision with your message, but then get total laser focused on exactly who it is that you want to work with at that time, and call in and trust that those people are going to resonate with your core message. And then obviously you're in your business, your specific offers and services and way you're helping them, they're going to be niche, they're going to be laser focused, they're going to be extremely intentional, all within fitting into this broad, big, powerful message.
Beautifully said. Thank you so much for saying that way. And it's so important because your message may shift and change.
Totally.
Like we about it may. And you know what? Who you serve may shift and change, and that's okay. But at least you can get your laser beam pointed at those who you're here to serve right now, and they can see you or they can hear you because you're specific enough. They know you're talking to them. Otherwise, it's hard to know if they're if you're talking to them. It's hard for them to know. So, and then it gives you a lot of freedom of movement of your own journey. Because look, this is a journey. It's an evolution, and it gives you a lot of space if you just stand in your current message. Know who it is that you're here to help. So take those 2 points. Use that instead of, okay, I have to niche down and then my message is only this. No, do what Regan said. It's really beautiful. If you didn't catch that, go back and listen to that last 5 minutes again, because it needs to sink in for you. So Regan, will you tell us about your free gift, which is Make Your Passion Your Paycheck, and the link to it's right here with the video. You can't miss it. So tell us about what that is.
Yes, absolutely. So that's one of the first books that I wrote, and I've gone on to write a couple of others, and I have a new one in the works. But it's a beautiful little book, and it really is written with the intention around, anything that you're passionate about, you can monetize and you can turn into a business. I've had so many people go, Regan, like, I don't know how to monetize this. I'm not good at anything, or whatever I'm good at can't be monetized. When really it can. There's always a way. I don't care if you're good at knitting. Like, go and build a business around that. You can do it. You can actually live in alignment. You can literally turn your passion into what you are paid to do. So this book will not only give you permission to do that, it'll start breaking down some of the mindsets, and then it will step you into actually some of the hands-on strategies that you need to do in order to take some aligned action to get there.
Beautiful. Thank you. And that link is there. So download that. You'll get more Regan. She'll walk you through that. Then you'll also be able to get some more communication from her. You can find out about her programs as well. So if this has resonated for you, dig into that, because she's brilliant. Okay. And she's giving you a great resource to do that. So before we sign off for today, is there anything else you want to share with us?
Oh, I think it's been an amazing chat, and I love the questions, and it's been so different to any other interviews I've done. So I thank you for that. And the last thing that I would leave everyone with is just know that you're powerful. Know that you have greatness within you, and just know that ultimately you can have it all, and that stands true when it comes to your message. It stands true when it comes to your business. You can live your life on your terms, and you can create your business so it is literally a super authentic version and extension of yourself. And just trust me that if you get that, like if you actually get that, and if you then go and do the work around that, if you make that happen, it's going to feel so good. It really will. And all of a sudden, the lines between work and play will be blurred, and you will just be living in this space of just feeling so energetically fulfilled and excited every single day. So if you're like, I get this, and then you go and do that, I'm just so excited for what's coming for you.
Oh, beautiful. Thank you. Thank you. There is greatness inside of you. I want to thank all of you for being on this journey with us here on Business Brilliance, activating your radical blueprint for success, which is your greatness, by the way, which Regan just named again. That's your greatness. That is your brilliance. That is activating you for the success that you want. Take the tips that she's given you today. And I want to thank, we're at the end of our series here, and I just want to thank all of you so much. You've got this. You can tune into it again. You can still grab the VIP package if you want to, so that you can. This is juicy stuff. It's timeless too. So I want to encourage you to really take this to heart, to use this, to take the nuggets that have worked for you. And I just have so much gratitude, Regan, for you being with us, for all of the experts to be with us on this amazing event. I've learned so much as well. And thank you for being here, because without you, it wouldn't happen.
Oh, you're
So
beautiful.
much love to all of you. Many blessings to all of you. Thank you, Regan, and everyone have a beautiful day.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, my dear.
Cool, pleasure. That was great.
It was really, really fun. Thanks for diving in. Yeah, we're totally aligned. If you ever want to play more or do anything,
I know, I was gonna say, I love you.
that's exactly how in my own way. I work from the inside out with people and
Right.
teaching themselves and follow.
So many people don't get it. Everyone's got it backwards. I'm like, I want to shake the world. So yeah, thanks for doing this, because yeah, lots of people need to hear it. So that's awesome.
Yeah, great. And thank you so much. And look forward to playing some more with you. If you need anything, we appreciate you also promoting, and love to play with you some more sometime. So if anything
Awesome.
bubbles up around that, I'm totally open. I love collaboration.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And
Just send me an email. That's awesome.
if I get to Bali, I'm coming to visit you.
Yes, you absolutely should. When you get to Bali.
When I get to Bali. Okay, my dear. If you need anything, don't hesitate to reach out. Okay?
Absolutely. Thank you so much. Have an awesome day.
Thank you.
See you.
Okay, bye-bye.
Bye. Hey guys, what's going on? Let me read these comments quickly. Oof, it's a really cool interview. She's lovely. Love your why. Thanks, Mina. Am I saying your name right? Sonia, I totally get that tug. Totally. Hey, Tara. Bexia, hey. Be calm and trust. Give it the space and give yourself permission to grow and change. Love that. Love you. You're awesome. Josh, agreed. You have to ask yourself, what is the fuel in the tank? What is it all for? The bigger desire, the bigger the action. I agree. Hi, Mohammed. How am I? I'm really good. Thank you. How are you? Tara, yeah, it's so powerful to lead people into their own strategies. Yes, big with message, specific with whom I want to work with. Holy moly, so freaking good. That's awesome. And I love doing these interviews live. There's so much goodness in them, right? Thank you both for awesome chat. Absolutely. Thank you so much, guys, for being on. It's raining in Bali. Do you want to see? Can you see the rain? It's raining. I don't know why it's raining. It shouldn't be raining. It's not wet season, but apparently it is. Is anyone still on the line? Is there anything you guys want to ask me? If you missed that interview, it's It was awesome. We were chatting about messaging. We were talking about your unique brilliance. We were really diving deep into really how business is created from within, not externally, which is everything that I believe in and talk about like on a daily basis. So I would definitely go back and watch that because yeah, there's some super powerful stuff on there. All right. So, guys, I will love you and leave you. I am jumping on another call in 5 minutes. 5 minutes. So, even if you're watching the recording, leave me a comment below. Say hi. I will jump on and check them later in the day. And have an absolutely epic day. And remember, you absolutely can have it all. Ciao, guys. Mwah.